Hi, and welcome to our live webinar on the Product Market Fit Lab. My name is Elizabeth McCauley, the founder and CEO of StartStak. Really glad for y'all to join us here. We did this event last month, and it was such a wild success that we're doing this again, and you'll see us more frequently every single month as we bring through additional resources and workshops that are part of the Product Market Fit Lab. Today, we're going to be talking about from idea direction and how to stop guessing and start building. If you are a founder and you've got an idea and it's still a little bit mushy, not really sure where to take it, you are in the right place with StartStak. We are going to introduce you today to our company. You're going to be hearing from us more and more over the next number of months. And we have niched down on our expertise, which is specifically around product market fit. We are engineering product market fit into the idea stage of the company journey. And this is really important because pivots are really expensive. We've been doing some market research as well around why many founders get stuck in what's called the messy middle. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Key pitfalls to avoid on this journey from idea to product market fit, where to focus and what to ignore. There's no shortage of advice out there in the startup world. So we want to, provide some direction and guidance for where you focus your attention and energy. And then last, I'll talk about the May 19th cohort called the Product Market Fit Lab. This is 4 days, 1 hour a day in during lunch, so very accessible to many people. We had our first cohort in April, and it was very successful. A little bit about who I am. I'm a domain expert in commercialization and launching new offerings and services. I've been bringing industry solutions to market for a couple of decades, and I'm an AI domain expert and practitioner. In fact, everybody at StartStak, we are all practitioners in AI, and we have been on this journey to blow up the black box of startup for the most part. I've had my journey on some very large companies, and I have fallen in love with sensitive systems, which is the definition of tiny companies. I like to see how all the things work at the intersection of business strategy, product management, and go to market. Marketing is part of that, but we are not marketers, quote unquote. We are more experts in commercialization of new technologies in emerging markets, and we like to understand how that early journey all fits together to secure product market fit. We believe that the failure rate of startup has roots in coherence and lack of business coherence at the earliest stage of the company journey. So we are out to solve that problem. We are dedicated to working with founders and to bridge the gap between inspiration and execution. There's tons and tons of support out there in the startup world when founders have product, have traction, have revenue. Everybody wants to jump in front of the parade. But there's a whole part before that that's really hard. And that has roots in core business strategy, product advisory, and go to market. And to be perfectly clear, you don't need to apply to StartStak. We're not cherry picking applications. We don't take equity. We essentially exist for the 99% of everybody else building companies. That's a lot of people because we are in an entrepreneurship boom, and that's probably not going to slow down anytime soon. Founders in 2026 are not who you think they are. We're seeing a major demographic shift. Founders look like you and me. They're domain experts. They've been in the business world a long time. And yes, while many founders are very young, those people, wherever they are in their journey, are at a point of crossroads in their careers, whether they're beginning or going into their third career, and they're asking questions, what's right for me? And how do I build a company of my own that's sustainable and lasting? A lot of these forces of change and job uncertainty, the economy, AI is on everybody's mind. Whether AI is a real influence in job destruction or not, or part of a kind of a convenient narrative, we also can add war to the mix. There's a lot of uncertainty everywhere in the job market. I mentioned changing population demographics, and and many investors are very risk adverse. The fundraising market has fundamentally changed. If you're a pre-seed company, you're expected to show up like a Series A company during your raise, and a lot of investors that are Series A investors are coming down into the pre-seed and seed market. And so the maturity that needs to be presented early on in the founder journey has really changed. Um, Many people leave the job market for lots of reasons. Many people are caregivers and have caregiving responsibilities, which changes their ability to show up to a corporate job every day. So some people choose to change and do different kinds of roles. And generally, there's a decline in the dynamic nature of business right now. Many founders that don't have access to traditional support programs and services are the people that can solve the very difficult problems in the world. And we got a lot of problems. And so it's important to be able to unlock that capability, that domain expertise in a new way. Um, More women are becoming entrepreneurs. In fact, the wealth transfer for women is going to be astounding over the next 10 years. Trillions of dollars are coming into the control of women. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're rich. It might mean that you have different options for building a table of your own and funding your own company journey with the confidence to do that. So, founders in 2026 are not the same founders that have existed in the market, and we are absolutely in a time frame for that. At the same time, we see a problem um, generally that the model and the method for how startups have started their journey, a traditional method called lean startup, we don't think that's working anymore. If it ever did, it was designed to, uh, you know, close the gap on the failure rate, but it was very product centered. It's not about company building. And so, if we dig into what actually is not working in the earliest stage of company journey, the problems that show up, and this is by research from CB Insights, Carter at OpenVC, lack of product market fit or bringing products to market that no one wants or needs rises to the top reason why companies fail. Product market fit is a very hard thing. It's a continuous process. It's not a destination. We'll talk more about that. Marketing problems are the second thing. I have been in business a long time, and marketing has fundamentally changed, and it's gotten a lot harder. I don't think it was ever easy, but it's very technical. And while AI is, a very good use case for lots of paths and opportunities in go-to-market, marketing is an integrated function that's incredibly data intensive. And so, for early stage companies, having the depth of expertise to understand marketing in a way that can be acquire your first 10, 15 customers or whatever that looks like, that remains a challenge. And we've got a whole company function around operational marketing to support founders specifically on that part of their journey. Team conflict is another reason why startups fail. And in fact, that's probably a symptom of lack of alignment of getting started. What exactly is your company uh, originating from? What's the purpose of the company? What's the mission? Very important. Getting started is also hard. Founders trade equity for guidance generally, and cap tables can get broken accidentally on this way of that is essentially defined by scarcity, and founder equitability remains low. Being a founder in 2026, we don't all look the same. And we need to be able to have space and room to be able to exist and bring ideas to market that solve a lot of problems. Our insights that we're bringing to the table for product market fit are grounded in real world testing, and we've got decades of experience in strategy, product, and go to market. And so we're putting this together. We've been working with a large events company to bring evidence-based insights in a project we call the Product Market Fit Gauntlet. We're going to release that in the next number of months. New research that's really shining a light what happens before product market fit. Product market fit from an investor lens is defined by clean metrics that are understandable. We're doing something different. We're really studying that founder journey from idea to that point in time where companies can quote unquote be marked, okay, safe. I've made it to the most important milestone of the early stage journey. And we've been interviewing founders from 4 cohorts as seekers, people still finding product market fit, those who have survived the gauntlet, we call it. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. Scalers, these are people running companies that are hundreds of millions of dollars, and then companies that have also not made it through the messy middle and ended up failing. As a company, we're bringing a proven methodology and a 4-part framework that engineers coherence into business planning. Might be familiar with the word coherence for LLMs. And so that's the ability for a model to continue to make sense, as you're working with it. And so we think that this concept definitely applies as well to business and early stage business and business planning. As a company, we are industry and business model agnostic. In fact, the last 3 years, we've been working with companies from many different industries and many different business models to prove out our methodology works, is consistent, and is stable across many different contexts. Our practical experience, we're grounded in neutrality, and we approach things with empathy and a learning mindset. And that's kind of the roots of how we are born as a company. We have a deep love of pioneering nascent technologies as applied to early stage business. And our work is human led, with the gold standard is AI in our process. We are an AI native company. AI is part of everything we do as a company across every single line of business, engineering, product management, marketing strategy, client delivery, finance, operations. It's part of our systems and all the processes that we run at StartStak. So that's a little bit about who we are as a company. We have been on this journey for a bit, and we're settling in right there in that era of the messy middle. That's a space we're going to own. So this research, we have interviewed about 40 founders across these 4 cohorts, and the insights are pretty interesting. Well, as much of the startup market likes to talk about these, instant success with lots of, tens of millions of ARR in just a couple of years, that reality is not the reality of most companies who make it through. We have focused in on the untold stories of finding initial product market fit, and they're very eye-opening. The journey that people have been on, the sacrifices they've made, it's definitely real. And also the patterns of these companies who've made it through. The business patterns that we are picking up is companies that understand their customer very deeply are staying very, very grounded to those needs without designing capabilities that are outside of their roadmap. They eliminate optionality very early. And we're also picking up the psychology patterns of early stage founders so we can create a new framework for product market fit. So that's what we've been up to the last 6 months. So let's talk about it. What is it? Our definition: this is a process of alignment between a product, a buyer, the function of consumption of that product successfully with defensible moats. So there's a lot to unpack there in that sentence, but a product is literally anything. A product isn't just a piece of software. It's not just a service. It's not just an agent doing work. It's a product is how you package that product and how you deliver that to an economic buyer who's willing to pay for it, and how that product is consumed and then reconsumed over and over again. And then the defensible moats is how easy is it for your customer to switch to a different product, or what are the unique information that you're creating as that's happening, with unique data. Very few companies are creating unique data, or have a defensible mode about their unique first party data. So that becomes an interesting point, um, of what a mode is. This is not a destination, and it's not fixed by any. Uh, uh, but this is a key signal that the business is working, but it's definitely not fixed. It's defined by the repeatability of revenue metrics that can be very clearly defined, and it's easily measured. Product market fit is a continuous process of validated buyers and user assumptions. And so companies that have strong discipline in this area, they re-examine where they are and what's working. And often they tune this. They tune this in a way where they deeply understand what is going on with their customer. And they do this through fast learning loops. And then they continuously monitor very specific business information combined with their real world observations. And so companies that find product market fit and then hit that point where they can scale, they've done this early on as a continuous process. This requires a lot of discernment too, differentiated um, between what the market requirements are and what your customers might be asking for. And this is a bit of judgment of what is the problem that you're solving in the market, how are you solving it, who has it. And so often customers will ask you for things that don't fit neatly into market requirements, and you have to be discerning about, yes, that makes sense to build, or no, it doesn't. Um, Discernment also helps you build the roadmap in a disciplined way. Or if this isn't a discipline, it can take you off of it. And then also trust your instincts. As a founder, you know your business better than anybody else does. And so sometimes your gut's going to tell you what you need to know, and you got to follow your gut. And also the team that's building the company is part of deeply understanding the problem. So be careful of falling in the traps of advisors that don't know anything about your business, advising you to go in a different direction. The depth and breadth of the company, and the problem to be solved lives with the founder and the founding team. So bottom line, this is continuous learning, revalidation, and an always on process. What we're learning through our research is the messy middle is really defined by a period of time of rapid experimentation, to secure buyers of the product where there's really no repeatable pattern of acquisition or consumption. And that's what makes this so hard, because founders, by definition, and startups, by definition, are resource constrained usually, and they usually are up against time. Time is the biggest enemy. And so some of the things that compound that problem, is one of the things that's risen to the surface is optionality. Too many directions and not a clear path. This is very common with horizontal technologies that can be applied to many different types of industries. Having too many options and not focusing on where to go in a very narrow way early, is called the optionality killer. And it really is. It really can be a killer. It impacts marketing, alignment, where you find your first deals, second deals, that kind of thing. So you want to limit options early on as best you can. There's also a lot of confusion between strategy and marketing. And so often, um, when companies show up with quote unquote marketing problems, we start to do diagnostics and dig into it. It has roots in strategy, not understanding the markets, the market context, the buyers, um, or skipping product marketing altogether, which is not really marketing. It's something fundamentally different. Product marketing really is a really important point to hone in on how you talk to your economic buyers, what they care about, how you solve the problem that they have. Marketing is a very easy scapegoat for early stage companies, but the data tells us that most companies that can't find product market fit, they don't have marketing problems, they have strategy problems. The continuous learning loop, lack of actionable customer feedback is really important. You've got to talk to your customers. You want to talk to your customers, understand what they care about, get inside their heads, and understand what they are going through in that early stage of the journey. Your customers, who are your earliest customers, will be very loyal if you treat them well. Have a good relationship, maintain those relationships. Startups that go around and pick fights with people, we've seen it. It's not great. Takes a village to build a company, and so learning from your customers and have that alignment with them is critically important. Then the last thing, and I've been saying this for years, and I'm going to double down on it, domain expertise is a new technical knowledge. Every single company that we're working with that is a brilliant new company, the reason they're brilliant is because that founder, that founding team knows more about that problem than anybody else. And it's not theory. They're operational. These are operators. These are people who've been living in the problem, have the problem, and they know how to solve it. Um, that doesn't mean they're not AI native or understand and use AI. They definitely do, but they really understand the nuances of the problem. They've lived it. They're passionate about it, and they're not just building a company, to get a flash in the pan exit. They're building a company because they deeply care about it, and that's one of the things that will differentiate founders that are domain experts from everyone else. They actually have the operational know-how. Key pitfalls to avoid early in the journey. I mentioned that micro companies are sensitive systems, and sensitive systems have butterfly effects. These early decisions become bigger and bigger later on, and at some point they get too big to unwind. And so paying close attention to early decisions and be very clear about why you're making those decisions is very important to try to not fall into these traps. And I definitely have fallen into a couple of these. So co-founder misalignment, all this does is waste time, right? If you have co-founders, you have a founding team, you want to make sure that everybody on that team is exactly aligned to the company vision. The company vision is not a marketing exercise. It is the first step of strategy, that you understand your mission, your purpose, why you exist, your core values, and ultimately what you're all going to go do together in the market and why that matters. That is the company vision, is the bedrock of a company. And then after that, really hiring early before you know what you're doing. Take some time to define how we're going to go execute on this vision and defining that up front versus just jumping into building or jumping into hiring people that may or may not be the right type of skills that you need for that journey. So understanding who you need, why you need them, what skills you need. And then recently, I guess within the last year in our work, we observe the work. We figure out, what part of our jobs can AI assist with, and what part need to be human led. And that's kind of an active discipline going right into human versus AI roles. When you're using AI in any part of your business, whether that's product, building product, or the operations of your company, AI slop wastes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to unwind AI slop, and particularly, marketing and things. The words matter. The words matter for lots of reasons beyond just being noticed. In a sea of sameness, you've got to figure out how to be differentiated. So choose carefully where you're using AI and how you're using it. We believe that people do work and AI is part of the process. We don't necessarily believe humans in the loop. There's a nuance there that matters. On this point, AI slop wastes time. If you're reworking the work because you don't have alignment, not sure what you're doing, and really spinning, this is also a time killer. You notice a theme here that all this stuff wastes time, and you want to try to reduce that as much as possible to increase your runway. And then the time buffer of reality. Startups are in a different time, literally, than the rest of the world. We don't work at the same speed as everyone else. So if you think about, well, I'm going to go and get some deal at some very large organization, expect that sales cycle to be at least 8 to 9 months, and expect there to be hurdles and things along the way, including enterprise organizations deciding, you know what, I don't think I can make a bet on a company this small, and eliminating you because you're risky, right? Because you're a startup. That's not always the case, but that's how enterprise organizations think. So factor in everything you're doing, building product, sales, marketing. All of these things takes a lot more time than you might initially think it does. And while the rhetoric in AI is everything can be done overnight, well, part of that's true. The reality is building a company and all the things that are part of it. Your timeline is definitely not their timeline, and things take a little bit longer than you might expect. All of the theme is time. The second thing that's coming out in our research is things, founders that are very successful, making it through the messy middle, are very keen on what to focus on and what to ignore. They're doing this, being able to separate signals, from noise in early company building. It's part science and part instinct, quite honestly. They're very good at understanding the market requirements versus bespoke requirements, because this is everything that's part of how to build a discipline roadmap. They're very good at starting with services and codifying services. And in fact, this is the entire definition of AI, is professional services as software. And so this is a good place to start, is in a service type business that becomes a software focused company. In fact, that's been our journey. Um, Advisory fatigue. So if you're not clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it, and have a revolving door of advisors, expect to get lost really quickly on your journey. And founders talk a lot about having advisor fatigue, um, and going off of their roadmap, going off of their goals and focus, due to somebody else's opinion. So be careful about that. And all of this is about discernment. It is really important to have flexible thinking. Be flexible is a core requirement of being a tiny company, and also staying close to your customers, and listening to the market that you're serving very carefully. So, what is the Product Market Fit Lab? Why are we here talking about this? So, we are coupling StartStak services in our academy with a live human workshop. Okay, and this is really valuable. People can, take the lab, 4 hour live workshop over lunch, 1 hour each day. And this is for founders, the idea stage of the business, that want to get more clear about what they're doing, for the problem that they're solving, their company vision. We take a step in our framework through idea market fit, and then finally building the offering in the strategic direction for the company. This is our framework for how we bring offerings and services in the world. And so the Product Market Fit Lab, uh, skips across the surface of this framework, gets you deep enough to develop a 30, 60-day plan for getting unstuck, essentially. The feedback that we've gotten from this has been exceptional. Last month, we had founders from the UK, East Coast, West Coast, Canada. It's been very successful first lab, so we're offering this again this month, and will be in subsequent months as well, across different topics. What you get from the Product Market Fit Lab. So this is a founder path blueprint, walks you through and really decomposes the steps that you need to go from idea to clear direction. You want to know exactly who you're building your product for and why before you actually start building a product. If you jump right into vibe coding something, or selling something you're not sure exactly what you're doing, it will take you off the mark pretty quickly. So you want to have your defining your offering to shape your idea into something that's real and actionable. And then I mentioned the next step execution plan, and to hold yourself accountable and working through that so you can be in a place to develop a full blown business plan. The StartStak Academy is you get an annual license, unrestricted access to on demand structured MBA level entrepreneurship content. We essentially built Netflix for entrepreneurship and short learning journeys that are in a storytelling kind of format because people remember stories. And so this has also been something that's been um, helps close the gap and helps people get the knowledge they need when they're ready to receive it. Building a startup requires lots and lots of cross domain knowledge, finance operations, hiring skills, um, market sizing, pricing. It's a lot of stuff. And so we've packed that in a way where people can get access to that as they need it. And then part of our process includes idea market fit and the understanding of what that is. You can learn how to actually assess your idea if it's got potential to become a business that works, or if you need to refine your idea a little bit depending on what your goals are as a founder. Um, we are also offering in the month of June content marketing foundations. We've pushed that out 1 month, and we're working on product architecture for founders. This is pretty much product management 101 for founders. We're going to bring that in July. And so the entire goal of all of this is better outcomes embedded day zero. We like talking about day zero because day zero is where the thinking and the hard work happens before you start building. So you want to have confidence. You want to stay sharp on reality versus hype, and know enough to build your fort. Shamelessly stole that from a friend of mine, Chris Hebe. He's got a book out there called Build the Fort. Go follow him. It's awesome content. You want to stay grounded in evidence and stay true to your vision. This is a look at the StartStak Academy. You can actually we pushed the Harbor live last week. I'm pretty excited about it. It's even available on mobile. Check out the StartStak Harbor. This is our entry point into all of the places of StartStak. And so you can see we've got a couple of placeholders there for the company vision. The lighthouse is on the island to the left. The arena is where we're streaming from now across 5 different channels at the same time, including LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, ourselves, etc. And then the academy is the building on the right. So click on the academy and you'll jump right in there. You can get a free account and consume 5 courses, um, 5 on-demand learning journeys in a free account. We're also going to be offering the vision trial, first stage of company building, also as a trial offer. In the academy, you're going to find highly curated content organized specifically around our proven framework. So people ask me, Liz, why can I go to YouTube? You absolutely can go to YouTube and knock yourself out. You can also go to all the other startup content out there and get nice and lost into, I don't know what to do next because it's not cohesive and organized in guided learning paths. And that's the entire point is company building is very hard, and it doesn't currently follow a methodology that takes you from idea to investable business plan, or even a product that you can build. So that's what we're doing a little bit different through these guided user paths. This is structured, cohesive curriculum, not the hodgepodge effect. And that's currently what's out there in the market. And it's the unfortunate effect of community source programs. Everybody brings everything from their jobs and throws it into this community learning. It becomes very, very difficult to understand what to do first, second, third, etc. So we have designed something totally different. So jump in, explore the StartStak Academy. I mentioned we're offering 5 free lessons. They're available today, highly curated content. You can secure your seat as well today for the Product Market Fit Lab. So this is $2,000 with full access to the StartStak Academy, which is about a $1,100 annual license. And if you choose the code at checkout, Product Market Fit Annual Academy, you will get that whole bundle and also access to future events that we'll have. You can also sign up for the Lighthouse Experience waiting list. What is the Lighthouse? The Lighthouse is the business plan builder that we're bringing to market. We're currently in testing of this product. We're pretty excited about it. We've got a July timeframe that we're targeting to release this to the market. And then if you like what we're talking about and you like our ideas that are a bit unconventional, you can follow along by subscribing to the Market Edge by StartStak. So we've got two audiences we publish every single month. One for our friends of StartStak. We've got lots of friends out there in the market that are cheering us on and supporting our journey, and also for founders, where we share more about our offerings and services and keep you updated on our product releases. And you can also send us feedback. hello@startstak.ai. So please connect with us. Please follow us on this journey. It's been incredibly exciting. I've never learned so much in my entire life, and we appreciate you being here.